when I say deconstruct to reconstruct, I pretty much am saying I want to see as many musicians get into the NFT space, especially independent musicians, get into the NFT space, see all of the transparency through blockchain, see how their numbers are growing, see how their leverage is being, valued at this point. And then if they decide to go to a label, show that to the label. And now the label has to reconstruct how they're going to utilize their contracts or how they're going to transform their contracts for artists. Because now the artist has the opportunity to be at the forefront instead of that label saying they're at the forefront, right? A beautiful thing that I'm witnessing is like my friends are going back to their label and being like, I don't really need all of these parts, and scratching out the parts on a deal and saying, this is what I could offer. And this is what I've been doing through NFTs. Now, this is all I want you guys to do. And this is what I will pay you for it. Right. So now it's like, all you really need a label for is probably marketing, to be really honest. Right.
Good Morning Metaverse, a Web3 and NFT podcast.
Good morning, Metaverse. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We've got an amazing guest on today for episode 4 of the GM METAVERSE podcast. We've got Latasha, an artist, lyricist, collector, creator in the Web3 space, and she drops so much knowledge and shares so much insights with her journey into becoming a Web3 music creator, and really provides information that all creators looking to get into the space can really use to grow their fan base and their career. So before we get into the podcast, I'd like to start off with a quick tip. And today's quick tip is to surround yourself with like-minded people and start a group chat with friends who are all thinking about, learning about, and talking about NFTs. Now, I think a group chat specifically, and this is not Discord, this is people in your life that you know, and it's a place where you can really share what you're learning and talk about it with people that you trust. Share the latest insights you're reading, the articles, the podcasts, and having that brain dump of information in a group chat is really going to make you think critically and learn a lot faster. So oftentimes someone is seeing information that you're missing. So by being able to share that with your close friends, we can all learn and grow together. So start that group chat today. And you know what? Maybe you can drop this podcast episode as a piece of content you're sharing with your friends. I know I'd appreciate that. So without further ado, let's jump on into this talk with Latasha. Thank you, everybody, for joining in today. Thank you to our guest, Latasha. Appreciate you joining this podcast episode. Wow, I'm super excited to talk to you. We just got the chance to meet last week in NFT NYC. I actually saw you twice at a talk with the Hundreds event, and then also at the NFT Movement event where I saw you perform on stage. It was awesome. So glad to have you on the pod. How you doing today?
I'm feeling good. Just getting replenished from all of the insanity that was NFT NYC, but I'm feeling really good and really inspired.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling inspired too. It did take a full 12 hours of sleep last night to finally feel normal again, I bet. I mean, you were probably up so late, so many nights in a row, but it was great meeting people.
Yeah, I went to sleep every night at about 5 a.m. and it was kind of insane.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's bring the energy today. So we've got a ton of questions from you, even got a couple questions from our community members who wanted to pick your brain on a few things. So without further ado, I'd love it if you could, really dive into your background and let everybody know who you are and what you're about.
Sure. What's up, guys? I'm Latasha. I am a singer-songwriter, rapper, producer, artist overall, and community lead at Zora NFT Protocol. I am from Brooklyn, New York, but now I live in Los Angeles, California. And I've been doing this music thing for about 10 years, fully independent. I have opened for the likes of Kanye West, Q-Tip, Big Sean, Princess Nakia, and all kinds of crazy peoples. and have had a lot of different industry folk and label folk try to like sign me. But I always pushed for independence because that was like my main game. Being from Brooklyn, Jay-Z is always like, keep your masters. So I believe in that notion and I keep that notion at my heart. And the industry has really been tough. And as you guys know, being a woman artist is not an easy feat, especially in hip hop. And so I've always decided that I wanted to stick with independence as my walk and journey. And in 2019, I decided to move to Los Angeles with my squad, Lighthouse. Shout out to Jamel, Angel T, and we decided that we just wanted to figure out this music and art thing. They make film and I make music. And so we started making like lots of content and music videos and things of that nature, but didn't know how to make this bread off of it. And then the pandemic hit and it was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? And we came upon the beautiful thing that we like to call NFTs through Jamel, who started out and then onboarded me in February.
Wow. So this journey has been one that's really been all in 2021, it sounds like.
Yeah, it literally started in 2021. February, I minted my first piece on Zora called I Like That, which is a audio visual that I used to use just for my performances. I didn't like think of it of any like music video that I was going to put on YouTube or anything. I just had it for my performances. And when I minted it, it sold for 3 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a new journey for me. And since then, I've sold 50 NFTs plus probably now. And mostly audio visual was my game because I wanted to see what music NFTs would do in the space. So I'm the first woman to rap in blockchain, and I'm the first woman to bring music video to blockchain as well.
Wow. A lot of stuff I want to dive into there, and congrats on both those first. That's a huge milestone, and I definitely want to touch on diversity and get some of your thoughts in that a little bit further in the pod. You mentioned that your first NFT sold in 3 minutes. Now, as someone who is new to crypto, minting their first NFT, what was the driving factor behind that sale happening so quickly? Was it your fan base, or was it you like diving into the NFT community first? Like, how did you get your name out about this mint?
To be honest, I didn't have a fan base within NFT yet. Zora was still a really young protocol at the time. I am so sorry. There's so much noise happening in my background.
All good.
I hope you guys don't hear that. But Zora was still really young, and they like to call me OG Zora because I was one of the first people to put my pieces up on there. That mint was actually number 11. It was like the 11th NFT on Zora. So I think the Zora community in itself wanted to just support and follow me. The CEO of Zora actually bought that piece and supported the first one that I did. And I didn't even know they were the CEO. I was just like, oh my God, somebody bought my piece. It's crazy. And I didn't like want to onboard my fan base into NFT until I understood what the space was first. You know what I mean? So I took some time first before I even onboarded the fans that I had prior. But now a lot of my fans are like engaging and starting to want to know what this whole thing is about. And it's really beautiful to witness.
For sure. Do you think that your fan base, now that you really have become such an advocate and educator around like Web3 and NFTs, do you feel like your fan base now is mostly driven by the Web3 community, or are you still pulling from more traditional fan base sources?
Yeah, I think my Web3 community are the ride or dies right now because they all truly believe in what this NFT thing can do. Of course, I still interact with my traditional music fan and push through IG and Spotify and all the other forms of Web2. But Web3 has really cultivated something beyond what the regular fan artist relationship is. This has become something more of a community, something more of a family through the music and through the art, which to me, I've always really wanted. I always felt really uncomfortable with this idea of like artist fan relationship and what that means. I always wanted to be the girl next door homie that just raps really fire and everybody feels like they could connect with, you know what I mean? But I'm also like on my private jet some days, you know, that's like my whole idea of what I want to do. So it's really cool to witness that coming to life and witness myself become like the homie. And ironically, this is like kind of sidetrack. My ancestry is called the Homies, which is like a tribe of 4,000 women from Benin. So it's kind of cool to like be called the homie and be of a tribe that's the homie. So that's just off topic, but yeah, something cool little fact.
That's awesome. Wow. I like that crossover there. And I definitely like the vision of being, you know, the person who can throw down their raps and still with a small subset of friends and also hop on the private jet right after the party. I will say that's a good transition into the section of the pod I'm calling On Chain. And we're really going to dive into a bunch of music NFT questions here. But I'll say like at NFT NYC, one of the events I saw you at, you were rapping with a close group of friends on stage, and that was by far the highest energy performance of the night. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, shout out to my squad. I feel like we're just deep roots in this thing, and it's really beautiful to just all these people that I've just met through the year, you know, and we've become so close because I feel like we found some safety and some parallel in life through NFT. And it's like a real chosen family vibe right now.
Mm-hmm. There's something to be said. I think I see parallels between NFTs and then music. Like when you find someone who likes the same artist as you have something in common. Like you have this cultural taste, this music taste that you both appreciate, and you both appreciate the same art. And with NFTs, I find that when you have these chosen friends, you're both connecting around similar values and beliefs and innovative thinking. And so sometimes it's not necessarily even the piece of art you're connecting on, it's the value and the vision you're connecting on.
Exactly. And then the art is dope too, right? Like it's like cool that now all of those homies know all the words to my shows, like songs at my shows, and they're rapping it like as hard as they was writing it. So it's like it makes this relationship even bigger, right? And then we go hard for each other's art, right? Like I go hard for like my homie Stones, who has this whole project called Spectrum, and I push their art, and Andre and Sursu and all these peeps, you know, now we've become like this collective through this idea of NFTs and what the value of it could be for, you know, BIPOC artists.
For sure. So, all right, I mentioned NFT NYC a few times. It just finished last week. So the two events I saw you at, one, you were a panelist, and with Bobby Hundreds, with Baron Davis, the real Alan Henna. And I kind of want to know, what are your takeaways from the week? I'm sure you were part of many other events, but what are your takeaways coming from this week where so many people gathered to celebrate the art, the music, and just the movement of NFTs as a whole?
My takeaway was probably really different from the rest of the conference. My favorite part of this conference wasn't really the conference. It was the connectivity with the people that I've been bonding with via social media the most, like Twitter. And to be really frank, a lot of the Black community didn't get to enter a lot of the conference. When we were on the lines for things, we were pushed away or told that it was at capacity when we saw other people being allowed to step in. So it was a really conflicted feeling because at one hand, I was receiving all this support and love from my community and like the communities that are connected with me. And then on the other hand, I felt like this conference is supposed to be about this idea of NFTs supporting the vast worlds of, you know, artists and creatives and developers with NFT, but it wasn't. And I thought that was really interesting. And I even had like a moment with a hotel that I won't name that pretty much told told me that I was too aggressive to be on the mic and kicked us out pretty much, or not kicked us out, but cut off my set at one point. And it just goes to show you that the systematic issues that we're dealing with, the oppressive issues that we're dealing with as a whole in the world is still showing up within Web3, which it shouldn't be. And so a lot of my work is signaling and showing folks that this is happening and we need to stop it before we move any further.
Totally. First off, I'm sorry that you had those experiences at the conference, because those are definitely experiences I didn't have. And, I hold a lot of privileges that oftentimes I don't even see these kinds of things happening. Right. So it's good that we can bring attention to this and kind of talk through, what some people in the space are seeing. And, I had questions around this, and obviously the Web3 space is male dominated. I think that's pretty common known issue at this point. And then NFTs and Ethereum, it has these ethos around the openness and the ability for anybody to participate, but we're still finding that some groups don't have the means to participate, or we still have gatekeepers, right? Mm-hmm. How are you using your platform to, find solutions to this, or are there any thoughts you have around how we can do a better job at bringing more diversity to this space, whether that's, people of color, women? How do we start to work through some of this?
Yeah, great question. Firstly, I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to apologize to us for these circumstances. That's for one. Our community, I always am pushing that we're not victims. We're just caught in a system, right? That we're evolving and going to change in time. Even if it's not my lifetime, it's definitely going to change. And I'm optimistic about that because I believe that we're in a great paradigm shift right now that we're going to see the tables turn and things are going to transform. All my work is to signal and to make you guys aware of what's happening so that you guys could go and speak to your communities about what's happening and make sure that that shit doesn't happen anymore, on just a clear fact. As for my platform, what I always am doing, working at Zora and being an artist in itself, I am making sure that BIPOC artists, LGBTQIA plus artists, women artists are at the forefront of the conversation every time that we are having an opportunity to showcase art, to make sure that every time we're having a conversation, there's a representation of that person there, and making sure that when things are in conflict or things are showing up that are against what we are and our like rights and et cetera, we're saying something. A lot of times we've been silenced and not allowed to say things or pushed aside. And I'm doing all that I can using all of my means via Twitter, via group chat, via Telegram, via Discord, whatever I got, to make sure that I'm saying something. And a lot of times, people are like, oh, but you should do the work internally, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, word, I do the work internally. I make sure that I'm talking to people within the spaces, but there's something really powerful when we actually just say it out loud. So it's both courses. And another thing that I push for like my communities is to take different roles in this thing, right? Like some people don't want to use their Twitter to signal situations. Other people want to go to the industry directly and talk to folks directly that way. And I think that's another great way to do this too. So it's all about taking your role, knowing what you could do to make sure that we create this transformation, period.
Totally. Has there been a method of education that you've found has been that's really resonated in terms of educating people who aren't as familiar with this space? Has it been, I'm active on Twitter, like, is it Twitter, or does it really start with these in-person conversations with the people you're close to in real life?
I think it's a combination of a lot of different means. Of course, Twitter is an amazing force and form of just getting information out there. I mean, Twitter is the new news, right? I don't even look at CNN anymore. I'm looking at Twitter first, right? So that's one means. But the other means I've been using is onboarding, virtual onboard. So I do this class called Zootopia every other Wednesday, where I have an RSVP, and usually it's like 100 people coming in every Zootopia to onboard, to tell them the story, and to just push forward, more artists into the space. I think storytelling is the greatest means for us, honestly, and telling our own trajectories and journey through NFT is the best way. I mean, word of mouth is everything still. So I utilize that as the way to like get new people in. But like I always say, I don't force anybody into NFT. I think it's something that you have to decide for yourself to be a part of organically.
I really agree with that. I have friends or family or followers ask like what NFTs to buy, and I always my talk track always is you got to start with education, because I don't want to tell you what to buy. I want to provide you resources that you can learn on
Exactly.
Why this movement's important or what has value, and then you can take that knowledge and figure out what you want to invest your capital in yourself. So yeah, education is really the pillar, and a big reason for this podcast. We want to talk to creators like yourself and artists, and through that hear your story and have other people learn about how they can join this movement themselves.
Absolutely.
So, something, a question I had for you, and it's something I heard you say, was we need to deconstruct to reconstruct the music industry. And I thought that was, a nice play on words, but also really gets at what I think is happening right now at the intersection of music and crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Could you kind of walk me through, your thought behind what you meant by that, and how we are looking at, or how you're looking at the current record labels of today, and how they're going to interact with artists in Web3 of tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. I think oftentimes the record label has definitely been seen as like a problematic source for a lot of artists, but we all kind of wanted to be signed at one point, right? Most artists that are musicians feel like a signature, and especially the world feels like a signature from a label means something really important, right? But the problems that do lie within a label is there is lack of transparency and lack of education also, right? So a lot of artists that are coming into the music industry might not know how to read a contract, might not know how to say what their leverage is, or understand how much money they should be taking in, what they could ask for, et cetera, et cetera. So I always felt like I didn't want to be a part of this label if it wasn't transparent. I need transparency, and I need to be seen as worthy. I've done a lot of work in my last 10 years, and I've had a lot of labels try to give me numbers that didn't equate to the amount of work that I've been putting in. And just because my work doesn't speak in Spotify numbers doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve just as much as somebody else's, record deal. So when I say deconstruct to reconstruct, I pretty much am saying I want to see as many musicians get into the NFT space, especially independent musicians, get into the NFT space, see all of the transparency through blockchain, see how their numbers are growing, see how their leverage is being, valued at this point. And then if they decide to go to a label, show that to the label. And now the label has to reconstruct how they're going to utilize their contracts, or how they're going to transform their contracts for artists. Because now the artist has the opportunity to be at the forefront instead of that label saying they're at the forefront, right? A beautiful thing that I'm witnessing is my friends are going back to their label and being like, I don't really need all of these parts, and scratching out the parts on a deal and saying, this is what I could offer. And this is what I've been doing through NFTs. Now, this is all I want you guys to do. And this is what I will pay you for it. Right. So now it's all you really need a label for is probably marketing, to be really honest. Right. And I'm hoping that labels could realize the loan situation that we were living off of, the 360 deal, all of that is no longer. I mean, in a summer, I've made what a record deal could give me. So like, what are we really saying now? There's a big change now. And also, I'm like, my work is being revalued for what a major artist's label could be, deal could be looked at. I have a one verse right now that could equate to $5 million right now, just one verse. So, and that's METAVERSE. If you guys want to go check it out, that could equate to $5 million, which is something that a major label would offer for a 360 deal for certain artists. So there's a big transformation happening here, and I'm super excited to see it happen because artists deserve, and we always have. And the beauty also of blockchain is that energy now is being valued. And I see that through Ethereum in itself being an energy form, and through artists showing up in their work, that's an energy form. And now we're equating those two things together. So yeah, I guess that's like the long form answer of all of those things happening.
No, totally. I love a lot of things you touched on, especially the energy piece in terms of, what has value and what we choose to have value, and the energy we're putting into it can lead to the value we assign to it. But so that for me begs the question, like, what happens if like an artist's NFTs could be valued based on the energy and the time and the real commitment they have to their community and the Web3 world? As an artist's career spans over time, eventually can they ever step away? And what does that do to the value of your NFTs and art on the blockchain? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Great question. I feel like the opportunity to step away is even better with an NFT than it was before with just being signed to a label or doing this on your own, because NFTs allow for a little bit more wiggle room for you to just live. I gotta say, I feel like there's a bit of wellness that is intact with being a part of the NFT community. I think a lot of people understand that artists have to take time to live and create, and better music is going to be created through NFT. I really believe it, because artists have no box anymore, right? Now we could go and be as free as we want to be in all that we create and do. But a great example, I took a long break. I think I took a break for like 3 months before I minted another piece. And then the piece that I minted after those 3 months ended up selling for 10 ETH. So that just goes to show you that the community, no matter what, is going to still support you if you just are showing you're being your transparent self. I think that's the key. I think being your truest self is always the key in any industry that you're in, and the music industry and NFT especially.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about the role of the record label. Mm-hmm. Can we shift and talk about the role of the fan?
Yeah.
How does the role of the fan change at all with NFTs for you? And maybe they can hold different roles from a collector. Maybe some are investors, and there's definitely a place for people who want to buy and sell NFTs and maybe not hold them long term. And then there's also, coming to mind for me, is the people who promote the work. But there's probably also people who can't afford the work and dive into Discords and whatnot. So how do you view this relationship with the fan, and how has it changed for you from when music was just on streaming platforms in Web 2 to the platforms now in Web 3?
Man, the fan is even closer now, which is so dope. I mean, I'm so grateful that I get to talk to my fans directly right now, especially my collectors. So we could start with collectors first. I mean, my collectors, I directly engage with them now. We talk via DM or via Twitter or chats or anything of that nature. And we get to really talk about the art and dive deeper into why they bought it, why I made it. And we get like a better synergy. Now they're like beyond a fan, they're an investor into like what's coming up for the future for yourself. And a lot of my collectors are not, they don't just collect one piece, they collect several pieces of mine too. So they stay with the journey and continue to invest in it. As for the community fan, I feel like I'm going to call them, is like the fan who can't really buy the art but loves what I'm doing. I love those fans because they're the ones who push it to new collectors and connect with me even more so. Like, a lot of them are artists as well, which is a whole other vibration now, because it's like you understand what the walk is, and a lot of them will like go out of their way to like make a whole thread about the work I'm doing and tell the story. And it's kind of like marketing without me having to market myself now, and then as for the fan who's just watching, that's important too. I think that's a consciousness now that we're all stepping into. All those fans that are just watching what's happening, they're starting to understand that NFT is going to be the new way. And the more that story pushes, the bigger this thing is going to get. So I'm just excited for all of this new community. I mean, I felt like my Spotify fan versus my NFT fan is very, very different. And the Spotify fan is so hard to connect with because of all that middle ground. I can't reach them all the time unless they directly hit me on Instagram or directly hit me on Twitter. And sometimes they don't even know that I have a Twitter or Instagram unless I'm saying it. So it's a very different world I'm in. And I'm grateful. I just love this idea of being so connected with the people. And I think it's going to make for better art and better show and better everything. So, yeah.
I think the being close to the fan is so interesting, and especially because a lot of the streaming platforms, they kind of gatekeep that information and that access. They know exactly who your fans are, and
exactly.
A space that has room to grow in Web3, and especially with music and creators, I feel like, is people that are going to build platforms and products to allow creators to more easily have those touch points with the fans. The information is on the blockchain, and we can see who our collectors are, and we have Discords to like chat with them, every day. But then taking that to the next step and allowing you to, like, with one click of a button, reach airdrop all your fans or whatnot is, I think, still is possible right now. But hopefully we see the rise in those tools to make it even easier for you to engage with them and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So, okay, we talked about the record label. We talked about the fan. My next question, I want to dive into, like, let's take this scenario. We've got a small artist, a hip hop artist like yourself, listening to this podcast, and they're new to crypto, but they're intrigued. They're listening to your story and they're feeling inspired right now. What kind of tactical and strategic advice could we give to them to help them go from, like, today as an artist that's just on like Spotify and Apple Music, and work towards the goal of like minting their first NFT? Are there any steps they can do or something that they could find useful as they, start to build their own community and grow their fan base in new ways?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to plug Zoratopia. Come on down to Zoratopia every other Wednesday. Not only because it's like a course that I'm teaching, but because there's also just an innate community that's growing on it. And like I always push, community is the key to making NFT work for you. So I always am like, one, engage with the community. Before you even like mint your first piece, get on Twitter, follow as many people as you can that are getting into the NFT space, and follow people that identify with what you identify with. If you identify as a rapper, producer, singer, BIPOC, LGBTQIA plus, whatever you identify with, get connected with them, follow them, say hi, retweet their pieces, check out their work. And don't retweet to just be annoying, like retweet because you actually like what's going on. That's one thing to start with. The next thing I would say, get on YouTube, start checking out all those NFT courses that are out there. I have some amazing folks that have like really dope content out there. Like Sursu Amir is like one of the best NFT peeps out there who have a lot of YouTubes out there to support. I would say also another way is to get into Discord. Just connect on Discord. If you see folks with a Discord link up with that Discord server and just connect with the artist there. And that's the first ways to engage. And then as for the actual platforms, I would say to check out each platform and see what each platform is doing and look at your own content, your like whatever you're creating. If you're creating music video, if you're creating song, if you're creating like weird doodles or art pieces that go with your music, check out all the platforms and see which platform speaks to who you are. I started with Zora because I felt like Zora really spoke to who I was and like what kind of art they like to push and what kind of art that was already being pushed onto the platform. I thought was really directly connected with my heart work and like what I like to do. And it worked out because I knew what I am and I knew what the platform was. So it's big on awareness. I think NFT is like huge on just being aware of the spaces you're in and the person you are too. So those are like some of the tips I would start with for sure.
Gotcha. And you mentioned some of those different platforms. I feel like there are some that really focus on one-of-ones and some that can focus more on higher quantity collectibles. Mm-hmm. And, you know, as this podcast is in partnership with Mint Songs, and, you know, on Mint Songs, an artist can come on there and choose the quantity they want to mint. And I kind of wanted to get your thought on, do you see, how does an artist go through the thought process of choosing what has a higher mint count versus a one-on-one? Like where's the time and place for something that's super scarce versus something that's super collectible in terms of mass quantity?
I think it's about the intention behind your piece, right? And I think that's an obvious answer, but like, I think intention is key. So like, I have certain songs that I just want one person possibly to collect so that they can feel really special about having that one record. And then there's certain songs that I'm like, word, I would like 100 people to have this one record because I wanted to span out and go further out, right? I have certain one-of-one NFTs that I'll never like spread out. I just want one person. I'm happy that that one person connected with that one moment of a song that I created, right? And then I have songs where I'm like, I'm wondering how I'm gonna push this further and give this to more people. So I'm really excited to see how Mint Songs decides like, you know, how that's going to work for a certain artist and see how they're going to move in that direction. I personally haven't done a lot of like edition songs yet or collection songs yet, but one-of-ones speak to me just because I think there's something really special about one person really putting a huge investment towards a record. It says something to me about the label and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's where I'm at with those things.
Gotcha. And we talked about, you know, how do I phrase this? We talked about one-on-ones, and I feel like some of those have a higher purchase price.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a question related to a quote I read from a Vice article. I saw that you had a quote in, and I think it connects to this point. You mind if I read this quote? I wanted to pick your brain on something that like the author or someone in the article said. They say, it's not just about the number of fans you have. It's about who those fans are and where they sit on the socioeconomic spectrum. The people who appear to be winning and selling things for ridiculous amounts appear to be the ones who are already somewhat entrenched in the space. The killer advantage is having friends in crypto with lots of money. So, you know, there's some good points there for sure.
Yeah, totally.
I think it kind of ends on more sour of a note than I would have liked. But you know, some of these one-on-ones are going for lots of money. And do you see that those people are people who have been in crypto for a long time? And how does someone new, like someone who wants to be a new collector of your work, who maybe isn't fully entrenched, play in this space? Like, is the one-on-one a barrier of entry, or do you really think it leads to just more of that person's a super fan?
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like yes, to some extent it is a barrier of entry if you're like not that person, but the music is there for everyone to listen to, right? So like, yes, you don't own it, but everybody could go ahead and listen to this record, even though you don't own it, right? You just go on the platform and you could stream the record all day long, however you want. So I guess I'm excited about that super fan right now in my career, just because I have intentions and goals that I'm trying to reach to make sure that, you know, the music is receiving the investment for everything that I've put into it. But in the future, I'm sure that I'm going to create additions and things of that nature so that it could widespread. But in that regard, I do not want to have the same issue that we're having with DSPs, where Spotify is receiving a higher percentage of everything that I do, and music is only equated to 0.0001 cent every time that it's played, right? I have to figure out for myself what's the best way to do this. If I decide to make additions or collectible reaches, right? I feel like if I say, okay, I do 100 songs and each one is $100, or, you know, 0.01 ETH or something like that, what does that do now? And that's an option that I'm definitely open to and excited to get into, like, in the near future. But right now, just because I have some direct things that I'm trying to reach, I'm excited more for the super fan, because I know those super fans could become investors, and now those investors I could walk with and make more, like, bigger projects for more artists in the future.
So 2 questions. Is there a number? So there's a really well-known article like about the 1,000 super fans and how you should be striving as an artist to reach 1,000 fans, not 1 million. And there's even one that goes further to say that number is really just 100. But is there a number of fans that you say are, how many fans would you want in your circle of super fans? So that's question 1, and I'll follow up after that.
Good question. I don't even know how many I want as a super fan. I just want really good quality fans. You know what I mean? I want fans who, like, will ride with me for the long run. And I mean, my vision is to be in music for a long while and have longevity in this space. So I want a fan who's riding with me for the next 20 years, if possible. If that's 100, great. If that's 1,000, great. If it's 1 million, even better. But honestly, I'm just really open to whoever is receiving the energy and whoever is of quality. Because a lot of times I think the issue in the past has been that artists don't have quality fans. I think we just have fans who listen to us in the background, but aren't fully taking in everything that we're doing in the music and art. And so I'm excited now to see that kind of fan come into life.
Yeah. And is there something a super fan can do besides owning and investing in an NFT that you would find high value and positive sum for the community?
Wow. I mean, a super fan could create a whole platform if they really wanted to, like another music platform, or a super fan could, you know, start working with the artists and saying, like, hey, I'm really interested in being a part of your team, and how can I support you in other means, you know? Or a super fan could just share that music that they own with all of their peeps, right? And make your reach even more spread out. So it's like, there's so many options for super fans to do. but I want them to do all of it. I want super fans to like step in on all different realms. And I'm so grateful for the group of them that I do have that are showing up in different ways. So yeah.
Yeah. I guess the optimal super fan of the future of Web3 is a blockchain developer with stacks of ETH to buy your 101s and also like a massive Twitter following to retweet everything you do. So
yeah, you want
and first in line in your Discord to say good morning.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of super fans for a lot of my friends are like social engagers, like social influencers, right? So you want more of those because they could allow your music to reach out even further. And I don't think Spotify is going anywhere anytime soon. So like if you have an influencer who's in the NFT space, but pushing your music beyond that and have your music on Spotify and iTunes and all that, that's a great way to push your music in different courses, right? Web 2 and Web 3.
Mm-hmm. So last question I have before diving into the next section of our podcast is, do you think we've seen the breakthrough moment of music meets NFTs yet? And if not, what do you think that looks like? And if so, like what do you feel is one of those breakthrough moments for us?
I think we're seeing a lot of different ones, but I think we still have a ways to go. I think, I love to bring up Halik Mal because they're one of the first artists that I witnessed like make 10 ETH plus for just a raw file of a record, which was incredible to watch. And a Black artist doing that from Barbados was so incredible to witness that. And that was a huge breakthrough for a lot of us, especially Caribbean-based artists. Another breakthrough that I've witnessed is my own being like one of the first artists to have a music video NFT sell for 10 ETH off of a hunch. I mean, when I put Glow Up Remix up, I was just kidding. I didn't even know that it was going to do so well. I just was like, I was talking to Zoratopia folk and just teaching them how to onboard. And I was like, word, let me put this music video up so you guys can see how it works. And then that was a huge breakthrough. Shout out to PartyBid because PartyBid really leveled up the playing field on the music videos. And now that's showing something really special about music video and how important it is as an art form, right? And especially an NFT. But we have a ways to go. I mean, I want to see more Black artists doing very well within music. I feel like that's still something that's not fully engaged and understood enough. I want to see musicians tell their labels, nah, and be able to shut down their labels on certain aspects of their contracts. And I want to see the festival. I'm ready to see the festivals happen and like NFT full music festivals taking place. So these are all the things I'm imagining and bringing in my consciousness so that they come to life. Yeah. But there's a lot to go and I'm excited for it because I know we're at the forefront of it all.
Yeah. I said it was my last question, but I got two more questions based on
no worries.
If that's cool.
Of course.
The first is you mentioned the music videos. I do love the first music video NFT. Like I used to shoot music videos myself, and so I'd love to see that happen. Is there space for the director, the editor, the camera person in terms of receiving royalties off these music videos, or is it really just the artist that can benefit off posting these other mediums of art?
I mean, it really depends on your smart contract. So in all of my smart contracts, I've split everything up with my team. And, I cry about this all the time on my Twitter. Everybody knows I'm super emotional about like my team, and my team has really invested in me and supported me since since I first started rapping when I didn't have $1 or didn't understand how to make $1 in this thing. And so it's beautiful now to like put my music videos from 5 years ago up on NFT, watch them make bread, and then split that up with my whole team. And they'd be like, oh my God, all that investment was really worth it. So there is absolute opportunity to do that. Every time that I have a music video coming up, the director makes bread, the cinematographer makes bread, the BTS team makes bread. Everybody is making some sort of coin out of it. It just really is up to how you do this on your own end. I know some artists who aren't doing that, which to me isn't really fair. But in my opinion, I'm always going to share my wealth with my community because that's who was riding for me and allowing this to happen.
I love how you even included the BTS cinematographer.
Hell yeah, that's BTS so important.
Folks, they never get any love. I don't know. They make the content for like Instagram and Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah, but that's important.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to see. And I feel like some people might say, well, on DistroKid, we can still do royalty splits. But I think the difference here is like the smart contract is, owned by the artist and will exist in perpetuity regardless of, that platform like DistroKid being around and whatnot. So
exactly,
there's a lot of power behind it.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. So transitioning now to the section I'm calling roadmap. So, for the Latasha roadmap, where are you going from here? Just want to know like what's next for you and how people can get involved if that's something that's possible for them.
Well, right now the roadmap is METAVERSE party bid. We're pushing for that $5 million party bid to hit that secondary market because that's going to mean that music videos and music could really do well in the secondary market along with the first market that we're in right now. And that would also give us, for artists, $1 million that we could split up to, no, how much? $1,500,000. You guys know the math. 1.5 mil for 4 artists to split up, meaning that each of us can make a $500K off of this and use that towards our projects. Right now, I'm developing a music video platform under Zora that's all dedicated to pushing music video shows and all types of it's going to be kind of a streaming service kind of vibe. So that's the platform that I'm building. The next couple of months is going to be more music videos, more music. I'm working on an album for 2022 that's going to be an NFT album, probably one of the first full visual albums on NFT. I'm lying. Spotty Wi-Fi, I think, has a visual album as well, but it'll be one of the next ones to come out. That's not a CryptoPunk, but a real person doing it. And a lot more to come. And then just working with Zora, building out more cool features for you guys to, use to build your own platforms and whatever you want. So that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Lots of stuff in the mix. Love to see it. Like the momentum does not stop. And, when you get this energy from the community and what's going on in Web3 right now, it's just hard not to keep building and moving forward.
Exactly. I'm really excited for it. And I'm excited to see what Mint Songs does too, because I know we need more music platforms doing different things. So it's really hyped to see.
Hell yeah. Appreciate that. So, all right, to wrap this up, we're going to dive into 1-2 Web3. So I got 3 questions for you. Who is an influential creator or entrepreneur, artist that really inspires you?
In Web3 or outside of Web3? Sorry.
I was thinking Web3, but up to you.
Damn, I have so many. Web3 and Jay-Z is always my influencer, I guess, because I'm from Brooklyn, and I think he's the perfect example of independence for me, at least right now. He's not really Web3, but he's all webs, I feel like. So yeah, that's always my example. And Missy Elliott probably is my other influencer on the music and creative front for sure.
Awesome. I swear I was in a Twitter space like yesterday listening to Jay-Z talk about something Web3 related. Can't remember, but at least he rocks the CryptoPunk.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Second question. What's your favorite NFT?
My favorite NFT. I have so many. damn. I do love my Sad Girls NFT. They're my favorites right now. I think they speak to a lot of my identity sometimes.
Cool. Sad rap album coming out from Latasha 2022. Cool. Yeah. And then last question. In 5 years, what's the craziest thing we'll be doing in the metaverse or music and NFT related that people aren't even thinking about yet?
Damn. I mean, I think what's going to happen is like 3D, like VR, AR concerts is going to be the wave now, right? Like we're going to really be living that Black Mirror life and throwing concerts all VR, AR. I hope it's not with like a bunch of dead people, but I hope that it could be like real life people too. So we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, we you mentioned Spotty Wi-Fi just a minute ago. We had Spotty on episode 2 of the GM METAVERSE podcast, and dove into some VR stuff too. So that seems to be a trend I'm hearing, is every artist needing to have their virtual reality, their immersive strategy, and especially as some of these headsets and more like actual hardware systems get better and better, we need to be able to link them up with like the metaverse concept and ideas that we're building. So
exactly. It's definitely going to happen, and it's going to get crazier and crazier. I hope it doesn't get like to the point where we just like press a button on our forehead and it's there. But yeah, it's about to get real.
Okay. And you want to plug your Twitter? Like, where can people follow you?
Absolutely. Follow me at Call Me Latasha. That is at Call Me Latasha, Latasha. And I'll be on Twitter, Instagram, all those things. And Spotify is just Latasha if you want to listen to the music.
Perfect. Well, Latasha, I really enjoyed diving into this conversation today. I love seeing all the barriers you're breaking through, the trends you're setting, and really just pushing the whole music NFT space forward. So appreciate you and all the work you're doing, and love the music.
Thanks so much, Wavy. Appreciate you.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Good Morning Metaverse podcast. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
Y'all.
Good Morning Metaverse, a Web3 and NFT podcast.